I was just telling Jeremiah and Zach that I have seen like 4 or 5 episodes already. I don't know, you've released like 7 or 8. So great to be here. And I've been enjoying the show so far. Great initiative.
Well, yeah. Can you give us a little bit of an intro? Tell us who you are, about Richpanel, all that kind of stuff.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Amit. I'm the CEO at Richpanel. We are a B2B SaaS application. We make customer support software for e-commerce brands. And typically brands come to us because we are able to like automate a lot of their tickets. So most brands that will come to us will reduce their ticket volumes by like 30 to 50%. We use a lot of AI and we help brands boost their revenue per FTE by cutting down the number of members they need in the customer support team. So that's a little bit about the company. I started this like 5 years back. In the first year, we got through Y Combinator, but I did not take that. I did not go through that because we also raised a seed round from Sequoia. So I instead ended up taking the seed round. We became profitable in year 1. We operate mostly out of India, Bangalore. So we have a very small team, but big revenues, like high revenue per FTE. And most of the customers are based in the US. And it's been 5 years since I've been doing this.
That's awesome. So you guys are like, you raise some money, but kind of operate as a bootstrap business.
Yeah. I wasn't even sure that I should be taking the money because I was contemplating between the two of like, hey, whether I should go with a bootstrap business or whether I should raise like a big round. And I did speak with like founders from both sides, and all I did is like confuse myself. But after I raised my seed round, I was not able to spend that money, because we were getting enough money in through the door that we could survive on customer revenues, which is why I also did not take a Series A when I was offered one within the next year. The investors were not happy, but I think it was the right decision for the company.
Do you regret taking the seed round then? Or do you still think it was...
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like one of the things that really helped me is like the network and the mentorship that I get from some of the partners at Sequoia is like really immense. And they think really, really big. They almost force you to think really big. And I want to be doing all of those things as well. But it should be in line with your first principle thinking. So if I'm really struggling to in e-com, I've really struggled to like spend money in marketing to get more people to hear about us, like profitably. Obviously, if it comes to like just throwing money, you can, but profitably, I've had challenges reaching that segment of people. So I was like, if I'm not able to spend the initial couple million, what will I do with the next 10?
Yeah, that's interesting because Zach and Jack, you guys have actually had some success with paid ads, right? And bringing business in that way.
Is a pretty big channel for us, but I guess it gets more complicated the more you niche down, right? Yours is a very specific use case. And I can imagine there are probably imagine a lot of people are finding you through marketplaces where having more visibility in that marketplace might be better than some random channel that isn't where your customers actually are, right?
Well, maybe. Like I feel like they have like a larger TAM than potentially us. Maybe.
What's your TAM? Like, who are your customers?
Our customers are like people like spending a significant amount on paid advertising. So we're not e-com specific, but we're definitely like e-com. We grew a lot in e-com at the beginning, and so like we maintain a lot of like e-com sort of penetration. But like there is like a certain size of store that like wouldn't get any value from us. But like from you, like everybody needs support. Like the moment you start getting like orders, you need support. So like I feel like paid ads would potentially work. Especially like on your guys' pricing page right now, like you guys are definitely like a very affordable option, right? In comparison. I think the biggest thing for like paid, and we haven't like fully unlocked this, but it's just like you need to have like a reason to introduce the product and you need some sort of offer, right? And so like I think that's the biggest place where like software, I think we still haven't figured it out, is like, well, what is like the reason why someone's going to click the ad? Like, what is the offer here outside of just like the product? And for you guys, it's like, cut your Gorgias bill by whatever, 90% or something. Solid offer.
Yeah. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from when I said that the paid ads have not been a very successful channel for us. Is if you think about it, we are only and only servicing e-com brands. But when it comes to like people entering their search queries on Google, they don't type, I'm looking for customer support for e-com or customer support for Shopify. I mean, a very small subset does. So when you look at the volumes, there are 10,000 searches for help desk software per month, which is a significant volume. And by the way, one click is like $30 or $33. That's the per click, which is fine with us. We can afford that. But what will happen is out of this 10,000, maybe 2,000 of them are genuine e-com brands. I'm just making some hypothetical numbers. Considering like, a more general purpose tool like Zendesk gets 20% of their revenues from e-com. So I'm just extrapolating that out of that 10,000, maybe 2,000 people are e-com people. But do you know how many people actually search help desk for Shopify or help desk for e-com? Maybe like 100 people, right? So even the e-commerce people are using a very broad keyword. And if I target that keyword, I end up spending my budgets on a lot of general purpose audience. So that's been the traditional challenge with attracting the wrong kind of businesses.
Right.
And the next thing is, even within e-com, there are like 2 million Shopify brands, but the ones that are relevant for Richpanel are like the top 30, 40, or maybe 50,000 brands, which do like at least a couple of million in GMV where it makes sense. So most of the brands we serve are like 8-figure, 9-figure brands. So it has to be a certain size for them to like really utilize and see the benefits of Richpanel. That's where we excel.
How much of your, you don't have to answer this, but like how much of your revenue comes from this $2,000 automation success kit offer you have?
Oh, nothing. It's a very small fee that we take, but it does help like set the right tone, because one is like somebody's willing to put like $2,000 upfront. We deliver it at cost. Sometimes the OpenAI credits that go in like doing the automation success kit is more than that itself if you have to run it like a couple of times. So what that automation success kit actually does is we run AI analysis on all your past conversations, like literally read every conversation and determine why people contact you, what are the contact drivers, and how much of that can we automate. So it's pretty expensive, and then we set up everything for you. So for brands, it's like, they just show up on a demo call and like 2 other calls for like staff training, and then everything is set up. They just go live. So most of the heavy lifting is done by us. So it's a small price to pay. Even for me, like ideally, I wouldn't want to do it. It's a small price to pay for great product adoption, and then eventually increasing the customer's stickiness.
So for you, it's kind of like it's like a break-even activity in order to better drive adoption of your product for people that are signing up.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's your I'm just like randomly brainstorming here. What's your split of annual versus monthly customers?
40% and 60%, 40% being annual and 60% is monthly. 40% includes like 2-year, 3-year commitments as well. In the recent months, it's skewing more towards annual and, multi-year contracts. It's a factor of like the AE not even presenting that option. So we have 2-year, 3-year options, but it's not like it's something that we've been actively promoting. So if brands know that is an option, they take that.
Cool. Because like if you were to say a lot like a lower number than that, I would have been like, why not make the success kit like $10,000 and then bundle it in with annual deals? But it sounds like you're having like no issue closing annual. That was just like an idea that popped in my head. But
that's a really interesting question, Zach, because that seems like a very high number to me. 40% being annual or multi-year. I don't even actually know what our numbers are. On the no side, it's like next to zero. We just don't even really push it at all. Stamped has a lot more, but it's still nowhere near 40%. What's that look like for you guys on the foreplay side?
Like 1 to 2%.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
but like that also like almost aligns with like a percentage of our deals that are self-serve, PLG. So, yeah, I mean, if I get to 40% all annual contracts,
it's wild.
Sick.
Well, and Amit, your discount actually, like, it's not a crazy discount on the annual either. Yeah. So that's kind of wild to me. But I suppose it's also like you're changing out a workflow and a very critical piece of a workflow in a business. So I could see like if you're gonna do it, you want to commit for a long period of time anyways. Like you're not just gonna do it for 3 months and then switch to something else.
Which is true, and also like in all our annual and multi-year deals as well. We give them like a 60-day opt-out. And I don't think I should be saying that on live, but if customers have been like unhappy, even in like, after 3 or 4 months, we pretty much like, shook hands and let them go. And we in fact pay them the entire thing, not even like pro rata basis. And that's one of the things that has sort of helped maintain that tone inside the company, like how we treat our customers. Because at the end of the day, if I'm paying for software that I'm not using, I'll be pretty furious, right? I'm not going to recommend. So even if, 1 out of like 30 cases it happens, like 3%, 4%, if it happens, I'm like, okay, let's just shake hands. Sometimes it's also involuntary, like people are struggling in their business, something goes wrong, some people were hit by tariffs. We're like, okay, no worries. We'll either pause your subscription so that you can continue using it, or we just give the entire money back. That's fine with us. And so many of them then come back.
Yeah, it's funny because one of your competitors, maybe not like most direct competitors, but somebody in the same space as you, is we're paying them $13,000. Currently, we're contractually obligated to pay them $13,000 more over the next year than we'll actually use. They don't want to let that go. And so it's like, okay, cool. Like, you don't owe me that, but also I won't be signing up another contract. Like, that's just, it's like, if we're gone. And I didn't say, I didn't want to be threatening, but I kind of implied like, this is like, if you're not willing to budge on that, like this is a relatively small percentage of it. Well, it's a decent chunk of it, but like, hey, give us this deal on this next year for software we're not even using, or we're just not going to be back. And it's wild how many of these companies just don't care and will push to make sure that they retain that, small percentage of revenue today and lose 100% of it in the future.
Is it Intercom?
No, Intercom's actually been pretty good for us.
I think he's talking about Zendesk, right, Jeremiah? I know it because, similar thing happened with Zendesk. So one of our customers signed up last year, like for a demo, very big customer, 6-figure deal, okay? Like 80,000, not even 6-figure, like 80, 90,000. So they came in, they took a demo, and then the evaluation was stretching because, they had like multiple layers of approval and multiple people needed to see the tool. So what happened is, in the end, they came very close to the Zendesk renewal date. So they reached back out to Zendesk and they said that, hey, can we move to monthly? We've been on an annual contract, but can we move to monthly? And Zendesk denied it. So they had to stick around in Zendesk. So they just left the evaluation between because they're like, hey, we have to pay 100K to Zendesk. They're not letting us exit. And we don't have we just 3 days left for the evaluation, right? So they continued with Zendesk. But we were very good in the way that we handled the entire transaction, to the extent that 6 months later, they're like, fuck it, we're coming to you. And they just migrated a couple of weeks ago. And by the way, last year, the contract was more like 50K. But now that they've grown quite a lot, it's more like 80, 90K. So they still decided to switch irrespective of them having money stuck in that because they see the value.
It's just such bad business, in my opinion. Like the product is fine. There's nothing it's fine. It works for us. But now we're actively going to look for alternatives. That's what that means. So it's like, if you're just going to screw your customers, they don't want to be your customer. And so it's just it's really bad business, in my opinion.
Sometimes you forget that at the end of the software are 2 human beings and they have emotions. So we need to treat them as such. Yesterday, another big customer got blocked into their account. We immediately unblocked it because his subscription expired. He has not paid the invoice. They're a big customer. So he's asking me, directly writing to me, what led to the decision of you blocking us? It diminishes trust in the relationship. So firstly, I told him this was not a manual decision. This is system initiated. The only thing manual that we did is unblock you, right? But I didn't stop at that email. I, in fact, called him and I even left him a voicemail because it's important that we also take care of how they feel about working with us, right? So he should know that it was not an intentional decision to disrupt his service, but this is what happened. This is what's going on. And, we didn't mean it. So just that one line or one tone, he returned my call and he was like, all good. We are all good. But handle those emotions are also important.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another example like that. We have a customer who churned from one of our products on the stamped side, And technically, like based on the policy that was in place for that product, they were supposed to give 30 days notice, which I wasn't even aware of this policy. It's an old, outdated policy. And so support was doing their job and saying like, hey, here's the policy. And the customer was very unhappy about it. And so support let me know. And so I was like, yeah, that's a dumb policy. We should kill that.
Yeah.
So then I reached out to that customer and said, hey, I just want to say thanks for bringing that up. Like, it is a bad policy. We're going to change it. I apologize for that. And then immediately he was like, okay, actually, I'm interested in no. Now, can you like tell me about it? And so we hopped on a call and he signed up for our highest tier plan of no, largely just because we said, hey, like, we're sorry, this was not a good experience. You're right. We understand. Let's move on. Or let's fix this rather and move on from here. And so yeah, we were able to retain the relationship at a different capacity just because it's humans being humans.
Love that story. I love that story at so many levels because, no matter whatever business principles we apply, people want to do business with people they like,
Totally.
good human beings.
And what ends up happening is like when it's interesting you talk about the example of automatically turning off the subscription, right? When you're sitting down and building like what the experience should be, that's just like the default, right? Like all of us kind of lean on the defaults of what we expect. Like the Stripe by default will notify you that you should turn off this subscription. Like that's the default mechanism of Stripe. And so you have to think beyond the default experience in order to come up with the more customer-friendly experiences. Like that's actually just the reality of being in the space in which we operate. And I would say that's true of every industry, right? It's not just a SaaS thing. And so it's very easy to say, we're just going to do the default here until you actually see how that turns out in practice.
True.
And you don't necessarily know what that's going to be like until that happens in practice. That's a good example where like, I'm sure you're now rethinking, like, should we actually turn that off when the payment fails, or should we wait 30 days or whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys see it as a healthy pressure on product to honor refunds past that guarantee period? If somebody's unhappy with the product, you're shaking hands after, I don't know, 60 days, 3 months, 4 months. Is that a healthy pressure on product to step up your game?
I think so. I would say, so the way that I've looked at refunds is that, okay, let's say somebody comes to us and says, hey, we need a refund. We never used this. And you look at it and say, okay, yeah, literally they signed up 3 months ago and they didn't do anything. We'll give you a refund for that. But I also think there's some limits on that, right? Like if you signed up for something 2 years ago and you never did anything with it, like there's also like a pretty significant business impact on us if you just decide that like you paid for this thing and then you don't want it and now you want $5,000 back, right? Like so there's like a limit there, and we try to be a little bit flexible, just like work with people. So that's one aspect of like, I never use this thing, and so that's just like, that happens. We all have that experience, right? We sign up for something and we don't use it, and then you get into like, I've been using this thing and I want a refund, and then it's a question of why did we drop the ball on something? Okay, then yes, you should get a refund. Did you just decide you wanted to stop using it and then you didn't tell anybody? That's kind of on you at that point. Like, we'll give you something, but we're probably not going to refund you like 6 months of usage.
I think for me, it's the max is you refund the most recent, if not the 2 most recent, if it's monthly. Anything more than that, and like realistically, you can tell exactly the type of person. Like the reasonable ones to refund are always reasonable. And then the ones that make all of the noise are always the ones that it's completely unreasonable to refund. And so like, even just based on the energy and like the way that they ask, if they're like demanding refunds like right away, like they're usually not like they're like realize that they've made a mistake on themselves and they're trying to pass that mistake on to someone else, and it comes across in the energy. Someone's like, oh, like I know I haven't made my own mistake, and like let's see if whatever, like you can just tell by the support ticket. Like
it's true. It's like if
I look at people that pretend like they never put their credit card in. That's my fucking favorite one. They're like, I never put my credit card in here, and like we don't even ask for credit card for free trial. And it's like, well, then someone hacked your account, and this $49 is the least of your worries, because like you certainly put your credit card in and I know it. But like the ones that like try to tell me they didn't, or like tell support, I'm just like, oh man, like, yeah, it's crazy.
And I think there's a misconception that a lot of people have that like software's free, right? It's like this idea of like, if you are running a software business, you just like everything is just free for you. Of course, you get money back. And it's like, that's actually not how it works. Like there's salaries that are paid. There's like server costs that run, like just because you didn't use it to its capacity, or like you've been, especially again, it's like especially if somebody's been using something and then they want a refund, it's very like I have a stronger stance of like, hey, there is definitely a limit there.
Yeah, if they've been using it, no refund. What do you mean?
Yeah, because like we are incurring costs for that. Like even if it doesn't seem like it, just because it's
like if someone ate an apple and tried to return the core. Like, no. Like you ate the apple. What are you talking about?
By the way, actually, so I grew up, I think you guys know this, but my parents owned a health food store. People legit would do that, by the way. They would like
be like, this wasn't a ripe apple.
Maybe not an apple, but like literally they like buy a bag of chips, eat half the bag of chips and be like, yeah, this isn't what I wanted, and bring it back and try to get a refund. I kid you not, people do that kind of stuff and in the physical world too. So I'm sure, you know, all the brands that we work with probably have that experience where somebody uses something, tries to send it back.
My toxic trait is I've never returned anything in my entire life. I can't think of anything I'd want to do less than have to return something.
Dude, same. And the worst is like when you're in line at the grocery store behind somebody who's trying to return a $3 item. And I
have a crazy story about that. That was happening in a grocery store in front of me. And I was like, what is going on? This lady was irate. So I was like, can we hurry this up? I literally just, told her to move on. And then her and her boyfriend, husband tried to fight me in the parking lot. And I'm like, whoa, you guys just need to chill out. Yeah, I don't understand. I think it's a bit of a thumbnail, right? If that sort of behavior is happening, like trying to refund, I don't know, an apple core, half an eaten bag of chips, that's a thumbnail that represents that entire person.
Have you ever watched like women shop for clothes? They don't actually ever buy anything. They're just trying it. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it's one of the most crazy, because like I'm like, if I ever got a package, like I'm not going to redeliver it or like repackage it, put on a return label. Like I'm going to find someone that like, I'll be like, here, have this thing. It doesn't fit or something. But like girls will literally order, like, it makes me be like, oh, this is why all these return apps like probably make so much money. Cause like they will buy like thousands of dollars worth of things and then like keep like $100 worth of stuff. And I was like, man, if you were like my customer, I would ban you from like checking out of my Shopify store. It's like one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
This is a strategy, though, that impulse to not want to return things. I think it was Buffy. Buffy had a 7-day free trial on their comforters. Like, who in their right mind is going to order a comforter if you're not in the market for a comforter, right? You're just not going to buy it because there's a nice offer. And then you're going to take that and return it, a whole comforter. It was a great offer, right? Because people go, oh,
I have returned something, and it's probably the craziest thing to return. I returned a purple mattress.
Okay, I was gonna say the mattress is the next level beyond that. So you actually returned a mattress.
They actually don't return it. They just pick it up, like a garbage company picks it up and throws it out. But it was a horrible mattress. I love the company. I love their commercials. I fucking hated the mattress. It was horrible.
Did you do the 100 days or whatever? And like how much?
No, it was a week, and I was like, I don't want this thing. I don't want this thing anymore. Yeah.
What was it?
Like purple mattress.
Quick story on that for you guys. I went through a rough patch financially after one of my startups failed in like 2018. And so to get by, I got into dumpster diving. That was like, I had a job, and then I also was like trying to make ends meet with just like whatever I could do to make money. And I discovered that Home Depot dumpsters were legit, because what they would do is people would buy things online, return it to store, and then instead of sending it back to the warehouse, if it was an online only item, they just threw it in the dumpster. And so you could go like find all these things that were like high value items, and just like pull it out of the dumpster and go resell it on Craigslist. So anyway, I made enough to like at least help cover rent and stuff for like a 6-month period doing stuff like that. So
what's like the crate? What was like the highest ticket thing that you got?
The dude, there was so somebody had returned like multiple pallets of insulation to Home Depot. And so like each pallet was worth like the list price online at least was $1,700. And so there's like eight bags, like these big bags of insulation per pallet. So 16 bags. I could fit 3 of them in my station wagon. And so I made 6 trips, I guess, to pick these up from Home Depot, and then sold them online or sold them through like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. That was the best find because it was just like so easy to sell. I like discounted it steeply, and yeah, it was, I made good amount of money on that. But there was also like one time I went to a Home Depot dumpster and they had like 20 doors that had been on display, like just like a entry door for your house sort of thing, that were just in perfectly good condition. I just was like, I don't have worth hundreds of dollars each, and I just was like, I don't have the ability to transport these basically. But there was a lot of stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
Might have to hit up a Home Depot parking lot soon.
Yeah. Maybe the Home Depot guys didn't really put it in the dumpster. They just kept it on the side, and Jeremiah picked all of that up.
Well, you got to be careful because it's like technically like it was a no trespassing sign. You're not supposed to be there. And it's kind of a gray area for sure. But like if it's in the dumpster, it's in the trash, it's like kind of fair game. So yeah, anyway, but the returns, going back to your point about returns, like that's what happens is most of the stuff just gets thrown away.
Yeah.
It's actually really sad too. So
it's a great business for the return apps. I encourage more and more people to shop and then return, make money off it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Amit, because I think this is a really interesting topic, and I know you and I have touched on this briefly, but so Richpanel is kind of viewed as like the affordable alternative to your competitors, a variety of different competitors, I suppose. But I'm curious, like, I want to know how you feel about that, because I think like there's do any of us really want to be like the cheap option, right? And I think that's unfair, right? Like you're not the cheap option, but anyway, like I'm curious how you feel about like that being like one of the major drivers, at least in market, of like the way people talk about Richpanel.
Absolutely. Like when it comes to like software design, so I take software design really seriously, and Richpanel is the one that is responsible for like a lot of things we built, which became industry standard, right? But maybe because in the initial days, we did not have so much exposure. Even if a competitor is like ripping us off after like 6 months or 12 months, they'll be seen as the one that is coming up with that, even a half-baked version of it. So I never liked the fact that when we started picking up momentum, it was because people would claim that this is a better, cheaper alternative. I never liked it. I always viewed me and our work as really high quality, and people should be buying it because of the outcomes that it delivers. So I was really against it, like when people would describe it as a cheaper alternative. And when I would tell Durai that, hey, this is like really hurting my ego, and he's like, keep your ego in check. That's bringing money. So just, whatever works in the market, you just have to accept it, right? Like that's how customers perceive it. This also goes against like everything, like something like Sequoia and like your investors will tell you is like you'd never want to be taking the slot or taking the place of like the most cheaper alternative, because it's not very defensible. So you don't want to be taking that slot, and that's not ideal for us. And we try a lot to like move hard away from it. I feel like our pricing is fair. We're not cheap. It's just that other people are ripping people off, so they feel like, oh, this is cheaper. You're not cheap. It's just fair pricing.
I think that's actually a really important piece of it, is like it is fair pricing. And I think too, for like in your context, you're not trying to support, I mean, I don't know what you raised at for your seat, but like I assume it's not like $100 million valuation, right? Like or 500 million or whatever that is. So for your context, like let's say you look at like, we have to get to a $500 million valuation. That's like our revenues have to be able to support getting to this point in order for the outcome of the business to be successful. In your context, if you don't have a number like that you have to chase. And actually every incremental dollar that you bring into the business actually increases the value in a way that's good for you and the business. Then you don't have to charge as much, honestly. Like it does change the economics. And so as long as you can be profitable, as long as you can do the things that you need to do, let's say you're at your business is theoretically on paper worth 50 million today, and adding that extra customer at a discount from the competitor makes it worth 51 million. Like you'll take that because you don't have to worry about it being worth $2 million incrementally, because you don't have to get to the 500 million, let's say. So it is interesting how like just even those dynamics can really shift the
Which is true, Jeremiah, but also like the brand plays a very important part in you having something that reaches 50 million ARR. It has to be defensible because, let's face it, we are all very smart people. Even the competitors, I have like a lot of respect for the people I compete with. They're all like incredibly smart. Like outside of work, I'll be like friends with them. I'll chill with them. Oh yeah, we are competing in the battlefield, but they're incredibly smart. So everyone's coming after these dollars. And if your positioning in the market is the cheaper alternative, someone with a half-ass product saying like, oh, I'm even cheaper will be a threat to your business, right? So when you go to market and you're like looking for running shoes, you'll buy Nike, you'll buy Puma, not because they're the best product. You're probably not even verifying. There's like a local guy that's selling at half the price. You don't have the time to like really evaluate, but that's the brand perception, right? So we have to be very careful of not, taking too much advantage. It's good in the short term, but on the long term, it will make the business not defensible.
And I guess my point more is that it's a lever that if you can pull that lever and you have that ability, then you should go ahead and use it. Like there's no downside to you to do that, where there would be a downside potentially to somebody else to
Absolutely. Yeah. But I also like businesses like Slack or Notion, which have like unlimited TAM. They've kept the pricing so affordable. The pricing is like so affordable that you can almost, call it a moat, because, you're building like so much product, keeping it like dirt cheap at $10 per seat. It becomes very difficult for a competitor to like build so much software and then undercut you in price. Like it will never ever make enough sense for them. So I also see like if your margins are don't leave opportunities for others, and if there is unlimited TAM, you can make a great business out of it. I do see it as a very big moat.
I hate it when people talk like these are all like very like not smart people, but when people were like, oh, like I only pay $20 for Slack and then your thing is like this much money, I'm like, not the same thing, dude. Like like you don't think that if I could have Slack, I would have Slack? Like do you think I'm richer than Slack? It's the craziest thing. It's like I'm just like, how did someone come up with that? But it is just like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's software, it's an app. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Zach is getting like the best breed of customers, like the way he speaks about them so passionately. I'm not jealous of. I don't envy Zach for the customers he's having.
Everything's a bell curve,
Yeah.
I think there's a misconception as well that there's only really two participants in the market. There's the more and the better, right? Somebody who's doing something better, it costs more, providing supply for emerging market demands. And then there's somebody who makes more of something, right? Creates supply for huge market demands. But you can be both, right? I mean, I don't know, Slack is a great example. Netflix is a great example. There's software out there that's not very expensive that is just better than the rest. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool to occupy that space. I think though you're right, Ahmed, that doesn't stop you from being put in the same competition in the mind of the customer as the cheaper alternatives. But a discerning customer is going to see, actually, this is a product that's delivering way above the price point, right? They're going to see, hey, wait, this is not just affordable, but it's actually a lot better, right? It has all these features that I want, these emerging features that I also want to pay more for, right?
The reality on software is that the trend is that software becomes less expensive, right? Like you get more for your money. That is the trend, and technology in general. It's not just software. Yeah, just think about like the first computer I ever had versus like what I get now. For the same price, you get 100 times better machine, right? And software is ultimately the same thing is happening. So, yeah, it's I think the Slack example is a really good example in that context too.
Yeah. I also feel like, if you look at the traditional ways of like valuing SaaS businesses, it's SaaS businesses get like way higher multiples than e-com businesses, right? Like by order of like 5 or 6. And the whole theory behind that is that, hey, all the money is going in R&D. If the SaaS company decides to switch on the tap and make money, they can. But I think that power is sort of gone away. Like if like a good SaaS business with 80% gross margin, 20% COGS, what you're really counting in COGS is the infrastructure and the payment gateway fees and customer support. The rest all is what you say like R&D and payroll. I would like to, counter that was applicable like a decade ago when you could be like a Salesforce and Zendesk that does not innovate and continue to raise prices. That was applicable. But for like a lot of the new generation SaaS apps, you have to spend an incredible amount of R&D just to stay afloat, like just to stay in business, right? Like we have to build like tens of integrations, dozens of integrations, and that doesn't get counted as COGS. It's counted as R&D. But in my opinion, it's not R&D. It's just the price to stay alive. So I think there's going to be like some sort of adjustment, which I think has already happened on how you value SaaS businesses, because it's become more competitive.
The general rule of thumb that I talk about internally with our team is that if you want to keep a customer, like absolutely you want to make sure that this person stays with you forever. You need to be able to deliver them something new every 6 months. And that's not true of every single customer, right? But I think that's kind of the way that I look at it. Is like if I want to guarantee, if I was going to try to guarantee 100% retention, which is not possible because there's other factors, right? But if that was my goal, my plan needs to be that I can deliver them something new and better every 6 months. And if you don't, then you enter this mode of like eventually they're going to leave. And so that's kind of the way that I look at it. Turns out that's actually really hard to do too, because it's like what people don't understand is like building new features is very easy. Maintaining, tuning, doing all those things to the features you have is the hard part. That's where all the cost comes in. That's where all of the challenge exists. Scaling things that have been built, right? Those are the hard parts, not the actual building something new. And so I think what happens a lot of times with SaaS companies is we start out, and it's very easy to build new features because you don't have any customers. You have nobody to maintain, nobody to support. And then the more customers you add, the harder it becomes to get to that point. And so you end up in this state where you're not adding a whole lot of new things. And that's where like I'm having taken over a business that's been in this context. It's interesting to see because you have every customer has a window of time at which like their relationship with you is going to end if you don't deliver them something new. So I think like to your point, Amit, like it's not infinite, that relationship with that customer. It's going to end. And I think typically like if you're not delivering new value, I think it's only a couple of years that you can get out of a person. Like that's what your LTV should be expected, is like if you looked at all of the customers that you have, you probably have like a max 2-year maybe not max, but like approximately 2-year LTV on those if you're not delivering something new. And that time starts as soon as you stop. I'd say within like 6 months of delivering the new thing. That's kind of the way I see it. And I don't know that's, I don't know, I don't have any hard numbers to back that up, but that's what it seems like to me at least. And it's probably different in different ecosystems too, but at least in this ecosystem, I think that's got to be your expectation. So
that is 100% the truth. And I think it applies in pretty much every market. I mean, we can definitely point out examples where that might not be the case. Like Netflix, largely speaking, is the same product. They just have to put out, I guess, maybe new content onto the platform, but the product itself is pretty much the same.
Yep. But that content's critical, right?
Netflix doesn't sell like a video player, right? They sell like content.
Accessible content. Right. Yeah.
So I think maybe Netflix is not a great example. Maybe something like a Slack or even a customer support app, something that you have to use on a daily basis. You're not expecting new features. It's just a way of life. Particularly applicable in the case of from my point of view, because unless and until you're delivering like new insights or new value, they're not going to see value. Like, like if you were to take like my personality test and tell me like, hey, here are your blind spots, this is where you need to improve. And I improve till I reach like a state where I feel comfortable. Then after that, that feedback is going to be redundant for me. So unless and until I get new insights, it will be difficult to like keep on, or unless like I'm continuously improving and I want to see the results of those experiments, that's when the product will become sticky. So it's very true in certain cases.
I think I think it could be more true. I think that your competitors smell the margin, right? And as soon as you're doing something that makes customers happy, that you can make money from, and no one knows this better than Zach, they're going to copy you, right? And the supply is going to get saturated in relation to demand. They might even do it better sometimes, right? And then if you're not making something new that meets emerging demands, then how are you going to stay up to date? Because your competitors are. They're going to copy exactly what you do. They're going to offer it cheaper eventually, right? If not just one, maybe 10 or 100. And then what do you have for your customers to actually stay with you, right? They can save money if they go elsewhere and they can get better features.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes it's also about like adoption. So you can launch new things in a very, and I guess like I have a question for all of you. Like, how do you counter churn where you have like a ton of like small customers that you're not really communicating with, but if you just like randomly survey them or randomly get on calls with them, they're churning for very petty reasons, like, oh, I'm getting this reason, I'm getting this feature, and I'm like, you have that here, like, so he's like, okay, I won't churn then. So I'm like, okay, I spoke with this guy and I was able to retain him because he said like, oh, I want this insight, I want this capability, I want this. I'm like, I'll give you these three, and I understood your objective. I'll guarantee the outcome because we have something even better. So I told him this, and I'm like, I'm not trying to retain you. I'm just here to like understand as a CEO why people churn and how we can prevent it. So there's no obligation. And he ended up staying back. But I'm like, I spoke with one guy. I can't talk to like all of them. So I don't know how you guys do it at scale.
You don't do it at scale is the answer.
Yeah. So how do you counter it?
I do think AI will help, but the problem ultimately is you need somebody's attention. And I think that that's the hard part is if I can't get 30 minutes of your time, I can't help you, right? And it's like that is or maybe it's not even 30 minutes, but it's like there's the specific action you have to go do and it's going to take you 5 minutes. I know myself, I'm not going to go do that thing. I can't expect my customers are going to do it, right? And so I think, yeah, I agree with Zach. Like you can't really do it at scale. One interesting note on that, on the no side, we have a health score that we look at. And we actually haven't done a whole lot with this yet, but the idea is basically there's a score. A perfect score doesn't actually mean that you're doing everything. It means that you're using all of our key features at like a moderate level, let's say. You're actually using them. Like you're not just doing one thing, you're doing a couple of things in one of those key features. Only 4% of our paying customers have a perfect score in that context. And so 96% are not actually using, I think it's a little bit higher now, but like when I was looking at these numbers and first setting this up, 96% of our paying customers were not even like using our product to its capabilities. And the ones who are using it to our capabilities never cancel. Like they're locked in, they never go anywhere. They're usually, really well-established brands who really understand what they're doing. They have lots of people that they put on different things. And so we solve a lot of problems for them. And so in that context, we're really sticky. But for the other 96%, there's those are all the churn risk ultimately because they're not actually doing all the things they could be doing. And there's obviously the levels within that, right? But you're talking about like 24 out of 25 customers aren't doing the things that we consider to be like fully using the platform. It's kind of wild. So
well, some feature building also has more impact on the decision-making cycle than it does on like the usability and retention cycle. Like there's some stuff that like I know for myself that like people will not use.
Yeah.
But like I also know that it's like consistently something that comes up in objections during like sales calls because people have like ideas like, well, I want to do this or like use this platform with it. And I know you never will, but like you kind of just have to like build it because like that like that exists in like the decision-making process, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell someone they're never going to use that. You just be like, yeah, we have it. And I also think that like the one thing I know to be true is that the thing that someone found you for is usually the thing they love you for the most, and that never changes. Like it's very rare that ever will change. And I think that's like a human thing more than anything. Because like you solved the first problem and you could solve a bunch of problems like after that, but like there'll be like decreased levels of like amazement and wow.
Yeah, it's true.
And most of the time, if you get rid of, like, let's just say you even got someone to transcend all the way up the ladder, being like fully like loving everything. If you got rid of the first thing, they churn immediately. But if you got rid of like any of these other things, they might still stick around. And so it's like a weird like balancing act, I think, of like sticking with like your core competency and just like making sure that people are using it for the thing they came for initially. And I think that's what matters more than anything, is just like, did they come and use it? Because I've never like logged into a piece of software and been like, I haven't clicked on this tab. Like, should I really be paying for all of this? Like, it's only ever been like, I haven't logged into there for like months. Like, let's cancel.
I wanted to throw something out there and wanted to take like all of your views. I know that all of us are trying to like integrate AI into our businesses or solve problems. But do you guys ever wonder whether we're thinking too small? You know, like you have this like, you know, superpower or the super capability and you're making it do this like this really minute task. Like Jeremiah, you alluded something on the lines of like, oh, you can use AI to like stop churn, right? And if you could crack something like that, why shouldn't it be a product that you're using internally and not a SaaS product that you can, you know, sell and make like hundreds of millions if you're able to like automate customer success work? So sometimes I live in that constant like FOMO, like, hey, am I thinking too small in like in a pre-AI world where I should be like thinking completely from the ground up on how something could be like reinvented?
Maybe. But like inherently, all of us are in the position we're in right now because we don't think that big. Like realistically. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if we were the guys that like thought super, super big and only hit home runs, like we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now.
Or we'd be academics and we wouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah.
That's unfair. I shouldn't say it that way. We would be researching. We wouldn't be building, is what I mean.
Yeah. Like I think there's a mix, right? Like you have to like understand, like,
Yeah.
I think they're like good thought exercises. But then I think there's like a certain level of just like pure self-awareness.
Yeah.
Being like, thinking that big might not be the best outcome for me, but it could be like, but like I wouldn't use that as like, because if that were to be true, I would get rid of the business I have right now.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah,
I agree. There's a piece of me that like, I don't actually want AI to become capable of what we're talking about in that context. I think like the more I use AI, the more I realize that AI is limited by my own capabilities, or the capabilities of whoever built the tool that I'm using in that context, the AI tool that I'm using. And I actually think that there's a good chance that that's all AI ever is able to do, right? Is that like it's only as good and capable as the person who's training the model, essentially, or the inputs, both the inputs and also the trainer of the model. And I actually hope that that's what AI ends up being ultimately, because I think there's a difference between like, I want to be able to do things more efficiently, and I want to entirely replace humans from the equation. And I don't actually ever want to get to the entirely replacing humans from the equation standpoint. I will say, like, from my standpoint, I actually just don't want AI to be that good. I want it to make humans better, not replace humans. But we'll see what actually happens. So yeah,
sure. I got to hop off for a dev call, but it was nice meeting you, Meet.
Likewise, Zach.
And yeah, it's another episode.
Yeah, and I guess Rashad he's in France right now, so I don't think that's a good excuse. It should be nighttime for him. I don't see why he's not free for us, but anyway.
Yeah, he's blowing some of that 45 million he just got.
He's not spending it. You see, I mean, it costs a little bit to get into the event, but he posted a video of his hotel room. Did you guys see it?
We can help him. Like if he needs help spending the money, we can obviously.
That's what I said. I was like, dude, if you want to, like, you know, a couple million a year, I might be interested in a job. Just let me know. So
yeah,
a lot lower stress, higher pay. Well, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, I heard the episode. I think you were asking for $1 million. You're already up to 2 million 1 episode later.
Yeah, was that what it was?
Yeah, you asked for $1 million.
I don't even remember. You just need to throw me some wild numbers and I'll consider it.
Let's see this. Can you guys see my screen?
This is a hotel room.
Yeah.
Take a video.
I
of the
hope
room.
he moved since this, but
You can see over here, there's like a section of the floor that's elevated slightly. Probably jank. And right over here is the bathroom. Look at this. The toilet is literally on a block, and the shower is under the door. So you take a shower, and the water spills out into the bathroom. Then there's some random cleaning appliance over there. Super jank. All right, you walk in, and it's the kitchen, and then there's this divider that basically separates the living room from the bedroom. Obviously, it's just like a made-up divider. This air conditioner barely works, and then the bed is just on like on a box space too here. Oh, and of course the window like looks directly into other people's apartments.
it's
Yeah,
not just
just
this video. there's another one.
Maybe he's asking his EA to book 2 rooms, like one for like couple $1,000 a night, one for like 200. And when the EA is like, what is the $200 room for? Oh, that's for my TikTok video.
It's true. That's good.
I'm just going to walk in, record one TikTok video, and go back to my $2,000 suit.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on. It was fun.
Of course.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me. Nice meeting you, Jack.
You too. Let's have you on again sometime if you want to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
all right, cool. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.